Talk about the challenges that their size brings.
Oh, there's no question about that. Last year, their size took advantage of us in the sense that we didn't play as smart early on in that game, especially defensively and on the pick and roll side of things. And the first play of the game was a high-low. I mean, so there's no question we're going to see that size and that experience and that explosiveness. And then you add Trevor to the situation, and it just makes it that much more of a formidable challenge up front. But again, one of the reasons they're good is because they have such an inside-outside presence. They have three-point shooting. They have the speed. I think now that Al Nolan is back, he's one of the more of the premier defensive guards, not only in the Big Ten but in the country. And certainly when you play against Blake Hoffarber and John Diebler back-to-back games, you're pretty much an expert on who two of the best shooters are in the country. So they bring a lot to the table, and they'll be hungry because they're at home, and we have to match that hunger.
You talk about, coming off a game where your two of your bigs fouled out, early in the second half. How important is it to keep them in the game, I guess?
I think it is. I don't think there's any question. And Minnesota brings three very experienced frontline guys to the table that really work the lanes well. They create angles. You can lob it up to them, and they get down and they seal. They're very explosive on the offensive glass. And so there's no question that that's a big part of it. But it's like anything else. It's team on team. We have to have great team defense. We have to have great ball pressure. We have to give great help. We have to have excellent weak side defense. And we can't ever let them just get a solid post up inside without pressure coming from some other area or without them catching it out further than what they want to catch it. And that was so much a problem the other night. We did not work hard enough to not let that ball inside, and then you get caught getting some fouls because of it.
You mentioned Trevor.
Oh, good.
You mentioned Mbakwe, I guess. That was pretty much the one thing they were really missing last year was a power forward. How much did it?
Well, you guys are aware of our background with Trevor?
What's that?
You guys are aware of our background with Trevor?
Yeah.
I love Trevor Mbakwe. I offered him a scholarship 2 games into his sophomore year, and we've been through a lot together, a lot, and on the court and off the court, when we coached him. So I have Nep's never left me. Even though I'm gone and he's gone, he's one of those people that I have strong feelings for, and I'm proud of what he's done. I was always disappointed that he wasn't as comfortable staying at Marquette after we left, and but he's back home and he's back with his family there now, and he's playing like the guy that we thought he would be. He continues to get better, and he's explosive. He's got incredible length, and he's got a very strong lower body. So when you put those two things together, you see a guy that can make things happen at the basket. I like the fact he's making more foul shots, even though it's not a great percentage. He can shoot the ball from 13 to 15 feet or so. But when that shot goes up, he's a wrecking crew. He's one of the best rebounders in the nation statistically, and he's certainly one of the more relentless rebounders in the nation because of it. And you can see it in him, and it makes it that much better because he's so aggressive.
Riddell said you've been working about 80% on defense. Is that the improvement on defense? Is that more technique or attitude?
It's both. Oh, it's both. I don't think our attitude's bad. I don't think our attitude. I think our technique, our footwork, our help side, the little things, hands up, our deflections are down. Driving the arm across the chest of a defender as you're rotating down, or when you what we call V over and V back, when you're diving to play that weak side help to get to the line of the ball, getting that hand out to maybe get that deflection or steal rather than letting that ball get skipped to the drift pass. Those are the kind of things that become technique and effort. I don't think it's attitude. I think our attitude to defend is very good, but our effort has got to continue to pick up. Our intelligence is hurting us a bit. And then what happened the other day was, again, we didn't move on the pass well enough. So when you're playing against a team like Ohio State that can break you down because they have the speed and athleticism, but more importantly, they pass the ball so well, you've got to be that much more alert. Your hands have got to be right. Your feet have got to be right. You've got to be on the balls of your feet constantly, and you cannot move on the catch when you're playing against a team like Ohio State. So those are the things that we continue to drill. No matter how we're defending scheme-wise, it always comes back to the fundamentals, the effort, the footwork, and the team concept of how we're moving, depending on wherever the ball is.
Tom, you kind of indicated that maybe Will will be playing a little bit more what do you need from him? What could he?
Oh, energy, length, which he brings, deflections, offensive rebounding. A couple of the things that really stood out to him, or for us with him when we recruited him, was his mid-range game, his relentlessness on the backboards. He was very, very, very good offensive rebounder. And you know, look how skinny he is now, and take 25 pounds off him, but he was still there. He was on the glass every time. And just to be a guy that moves the ball. He's an outstanding passer, and he just needs some rhythm and some time, but he's a very willing participant. And the biggest thing for him is preparation. And especially at this level, you've got to be so good with your preparation defensively, because the players are so good. So you have to know what you're trying to take away. So you're not only preparing through your own schemes and mindset, but you're preparing through the eyes of the opponent and understanding what they do. And you can't just play, you know, you have to be able to play with a real purpose. And that's what we're trying to get him to, and he's making a lot of ground up.
You had some defensive struggles. Do you ever just consider playing the best 5 defensive players and just going from that perspective?
I think it's a good question, you know, because I'm trying to stand here and think how much time we got, because I'm trying to think of who those 5 are. Sometimes our plane leave, you know.
4:30.
No. It's you've got to be able to score on the other end. So the more our offense is moving in, and we did some of that certainly in the preseason at times. But you in this league right now, if you're small for too long, you're going to pay for it. I mean, we put Jeremiah on Jared Sullinger the other night, and Jeremiah will fight anybody at any time down there, and at the same time he's still 6'3", and Jared Sullinger 6'8", 6'9", and they got it over top. You know, at some point, you know, physics comes into it, and that's the kind of stuff that you've got to be able to deal with. But if we were just to all out pressure the ball all the way up the court, become a pressing team, then it might be more like that. But I think we've got to continue to get that consistency so we can have depth, because we don't have a group of guys right now. They may think they are, but then it becomes a pacing game. We don't have a group of guys that are 30-plus minute guys, and I've got to make sure that we're not getting too much of that too soon. That's why guys like Will playing, Victor playing quality minutes, getting Maurice back to where he can play and see that confidence level continue to go up. All those things kind of help, and you really get into a serious quandary when you've got all the foul trouble that we had inside.
Kind of playing off what he asked, I mean, how much is your problem, I guess, the fact that your 5 best offensive players and your 5 best defensive players aren't necessarily one and the same?
And I don't know if many teams are.
Right.
I don't know if many teams are. I think if you have a real short bench like Ohio State has, then it's a lot easier to look at that. But there's still matchups that we took advantage of in that game. You know, on the offensive end, we shot 50%. So, did we shoot 50% for the game or the second half? For the game, yeah. I mean, we got shots. But I think when you're playing depth and you're trying to put some pressure on the ball, you're still trying to get the ball up the court. See, again, for us, how we're going to get easy baskets. And when you can turn people over, when you can get off and get the points off turnover game going, then you've got a chance. But see, we don't win when we don't defensive rebound. It's the biggest things to us: defensive rebounding, field goal percentage defense, three-point defense, points off turnovers. If those things aren't clicking for us, it's hard for us to win right now. So you've got to have guys that it's not as much making sure you got the 5 offense or 5 defense, but the guys that really understand the value of taking care of the ball and getting the ball back, especially off the defensive backboard. And those are the kind of things that we're working towards all the time. We have to be, I think Mike McCarthy gave me this statement a long time ago with offense, and I think it's the same thing with defense: less volume, more creativity. And I think right now that's where we're at. We don't have that true 7-foot center back there that can make up for a lot of our mistakes, where we can gamble a little bit on the perimeter and he can clean it back up. You know, we planned for it, we don't have it. So we've got to make sure that our movement is that much better, that we never ever get caught just getting ducked in. And this is such a physical league that if you're not up, we call it a punch, but they just duck you in, they seal you. We've got to make sure that we're doing those kind of things. But there's no easy answer to say, okay, we're going to play these 5 guys because they bring this, and we can take a break up there. We're not shooting the ball well enough right now. So those are all things that just have to continue to come. And I'm not discouraged at all by any of that. And I'm still more disappointed that we lost last Monday night more than anything else, because that was a winnable game. And you just got to, I don't care if we're tired, I don't care if we're jet lagged, I don't care if our feelings are hurt because we lost 2 games, you got to find a way to win that game. And we didn't do that. And that disappoints me. That's the most disappointed I've been. And because we've had numerous opportunities in other games. And that was one that we should have never let get away. And we'd be 1-1 right now. And I look back at that, I don't know if that was about who we had on the court as much as there was nobody that was just saying we're getting this stuff. So it's more about that leadership that drives that extra effort out of somebody more than it is 5 offensive or 5 defensive.
Did you see more of that against Ohio State?
Oh, I know we competed. There's no question. We play as hard against Penn State as we did against Ohio State. We win that game. I mean, we win it by 10, 12 points. And that's not taking anything away from Penn State. We let that basket look like Lake Michigan to them because we didn't get out there and guard well enough. Same thing with Ohio State. But we had every opportunity to come back in the Penn State game, and we did. We just didn't get it over the hump. Even with Taylor Battle making big shots, we didn't get it over the hump. And that's what we've got to learn to do. Ohio State is better than us. They're better than a lot of people. They're better than most in the country. But again, we could score. And if we come down and we do a better job at the beginning defensively, and even though we're in zone, which it's very easy to second guess yourself, but you saw it, we don't have a matchup that's going to sit in there and say, hey, we're taking Jared Sullinger out of this game with low post defense because they put too many people around them. When they decide to go to Sullinger, they just put 4 people on the perimeter, and if he doesn't shoot it, one of them will. And you've got to guard those guys. And we just didn't move well enough. We didn't play with enough grit at the beginning. And we still did a good job coming back, and we couldn't get over the hump like you asked. We could never get it past that 12-point range. But they're going to do it to a lot of people. But I liked the way we competed. I didn't like how smart we played, and I didn't like how slow we moved on when the ball was being reversed.
Anything else from Coach?
I was wondering, being able to get tough-minded guys, how much of that can you coach and teach, and how much of it just comes, you got to recruit guys like that?
You got to recruit them. You got to continue to build. Look at Trevor Mbakwe. We recruited him for 3 years. Scott Christopherson, we had at Marquette. He had to learn and grow. He had leadership in there to teach him. He's the leading 3-point maker still, right? In the country at Iowa State. He left after we left. I mean, it's recruiting, and I'm not disappointed in what we're recruiting down the road at all. That's a huge part of that. I think it's that winning mindset, that winning mentality, that winning year-round that goes into it. And these guys are developing a better mindset all the time. I mean, we can see it. We just don't have that. We haven't hit that last 10, 20% that you've got to have to get over that hump in a game. That's the hardest one. And look at all the games that we've had, that we've lost. Boston College, there was moments. Kentucky, there were certainly moments late where we could get back in that thing. Penn State, not as much Ohio State. Colorado came all the way back. Northern Iowa, right there. But when you have combinations of defensive mistakes, game plan mistakes, all right, and then you come down and you don't get the shot you want on offense, and then every once in a while you just get beat off the dribble and you don't have anybody there to clean it up, and those create problems. And we're not tough-minded enough yet to get that done. So you can develop it, you can go through it, but you sure as heck better be recruiting for it. And we are.